Hi, I'm Matt Niskanen with the Flyers, and you're listening to Snow the Goalie.
We'd like to welcome into the Snow the Goalie podcast, Flyers defenseman Matt Niskanen. Matt, thanks for joining us here on the show. We really appreciate you stopping by.
Good to be here with you guys.
I want to talk to you first, Matt, about the way the team's been playing defensively this year, because we were around the team a lot last year. I know you weren't here for that, but there was a real, effort by Chuck Fletcher and the organization this year to really cut down on the number of goals that were being allowed by this organization. So they brought in you and Justin to kind of be like the veteran guys to kind of really be lead the defense. Can you talk a little bit about the way this team has played defensively this year? And from your perspective, playing on that top pair with Provi?
Yeah, I think it's been a work in progress, but an improvement so far. I think our penalty kill has really improved this year. A new coaching staff, so I think there's been a kind of a re-emphasis on team defense. Because just adding a couple defensemen isn't good enough in today's NHL. You need team-committed defense at the right times, and it's a work in progress, like I said, but we're getting better.
Now, you've been around for a while. Have you seen an evolution to defense, the way it's played in the NHL from when you maybe first started?
Yes. There's more structure. Wingers are asked to do a lot more. They have to help a little bit more in the defensive zone rather than just cover their D-man, because there's more motion. And the emphasis now is getting the puck back faster. So you see a lot of outnumbered situations. You try to pin a team in one side of the ice in one corner and outnumber them. And also back-checking. The emphasis on back-checking, it's gone up tenfold since I started.
Now, you get to play with Provi, and obviously he's looked at as like the guy moving forward for this organization, first-round pick and everything else. We saw glimpses of what he's going to be in his first 2 years here. And then he took like a small step back last year, which is probably part of the growing process for any player, especially that's that young. You get to play with him every day. What's he like? What are you seeing from him? And do you see the same thing that everybody else sees, that where his development is going to go eventually?
Yeah, I think he's a high-end talent.
Yeah.
And I think he's got room to grow yet, too. That's really exciting. So, what is he, 22?
Yeah.
So he's had a lot on his plate at a young age, being basically the top guy. I mean, he's the talent on the back end, and he's had a lot of responsibility. And I think he's learning how to use that talent at the right times. He defends well. He works his butt off. He's been a treat to play with for me. He's exactly the kind of guy everybody likes to play with, a guy that can just carry the mail to tough minutes, tons of minutes, high-end skill, defends well. My job is to try to be a good partner for him because he's the talent, not me.
A lot of times, guy gets traded and you leave an excellent situation, right? There's always, I think, going to be that question from the fans' perspective, at least, of when you find out that you've been traded to a team that was on the lower side of things last year in this Flyers team. What is that phone call like? Does that come from your agent? Do you hear from Chuck? And then how much do Chuck or AV or the combination of the two express to you like what they foresee your role as on this team?
Yeah, I got a text or a call quick from my agent saying, be by your phone. The general manager in Washington, Brian McClellan, is going to call you. So right away I knew what happened. And so I talked to Mac, and then shortly thereafter I talked to Chuck, and just kind of don't know how to process it right away. But all in all, Chuck kind of explained his vision of what my role would be right from the get-go, and kind of what my duty would be is, be a good player or a good partner for one of their young defensemen, and they wanted to add some leadership and some experience. So it was pretty black and white actually coming into camp. I knew what to expect, and it was leaving a championship quality team. 2 years removed from, or actually at that time 1 year removed from a championship. It was tough, but it also I looked at it as a challenge. Like, can we get back in the playoffs now with the Flyers? That's the best time of year, and that's what I live for now. At this point in my career, I just want to win, and that's it. And that's the ultimate goal now. We're in a decent position to do that.
When you play on another team and you find out where you're going to be going, how much do you keep up on the other teams, at least in your conference? Like, what was your working knowledge of the young defensemen that this team was beginning to rely on?
Right. I pretty vague compared to everybody in town, obviously,
Sure.
but I knew Provorov and Gostisbehere and the high-end skill that they have. I didn't know much about anybody else, but you get to know especially your division pretty well. You play 4 or 5 games against them a year. Not that long ago, we played a playoff series against Philly, so I was pretty familiar with what they had here, and I knew the potential.
From your perspective, since you mentioned those two guys, Provorov is a guy that I think most people see as kind of like the all-around package. He's relied on so heavily minutes-wise. And then Ghost is more of like the offensive-minded kind of guy that captures the imagination of the fans, I think, a lot. From your perspective, playing, is there something you prefer to play with? I mean, let's try to take the human element out of it. Obviously,
Sure.
You've got to go back, and the guys might hear this. And we don't want to pit you against anybody, but is there a preference on your side of playing with a guy with the skill set of Provorov and then the skill set, maybe the higher offensive upside of a Ghost?
Not really. I like them to be more talented than I am. Which most of the guys here are, but that's I've played with both. A few of my partners over my career have been kind of exactly what you would consider more like Provi, where they're all-around guys, and then I've played with the guy in Washington. I think it was pretty similar actually to a lot of the skills Ghost has, where he had the high-end offensive talent and would take some risks, would skate the puck out of trouble, and had the ability to do it, even though he probably shouldn't do it at that situation, but he took some risks. There was some risk-reward to his game. I didn't mind that. I loved playing with him, so I guess as long as they're more talented than I am is the best answer I'd give you.
Okay.
What's it like being the old guy now? I mean, I don't want to make you feel old.
Yeah, gee,
but-
thanks.
Well, in fairness, I mean, you're sitting across from him.
All right, I'm really the old guy here.
Sure.
But no, seriously, I mean, until Justin was out of the lineup, I know he's right there with you. But I mean, for a while there, for several games, I mean, it was you and all the kids. I mean, what's it like being the one guy who's got that wealth of experience, who's won that championship, and knows what it's like in this grind when you have kids that are making mistakes or get down on themselves if they do something wrong on the ice?
Yeah, sometimes that gets blown out of proportion because I think our young guys have played quite a few games already in the league.
Yeah.
But I do have kind of a responsibility, I think, to hold the fort down a little bit. My style is a little bit more behind the scenes, but it's weird to feel that I'm that guy now because most of my career I've always had a couple older guys to lean on for that experience, and they kind of had that role. But it's an exciting challenge for me to try to be a good mentor for these guys and show good habits every day and kind of subtly work behind the scenes with talking with these young guys about what it's going to take and talk about plays on the ice and how things are going. And I'm not an outgoing person, but I do feel it's my duty to do some of that stuff.
Who were some of those guys that you kind of like were mentored by that kind of lead to what you are today?
Early on, I was really lucky. I got to play with Sergei Zubov, Matthias Nordstrom, and then the most recent one, Brooks Orpik. I played with him for 8 seasons, I think so. He did everything by the book, did everything perfect. He was probably hated by Philly fans, but he was a pro.
Yeah.
And he was a man's man where he did everything the right way, and so I really looked up to him.
Since you've been kind of thrust into that veteran role that you might not have necessarily foreseen, I don't think anybody ever gets to their point in their career like you are, and you have to kind of look around and realize that there is that kind of changing the guard, and you're part of that. A lot of times fans want to see the young kids get called up from the AHL, and they say, to hell with the vets, the guys that have been in the league for however many years that are bottom 6 forwards or fourth line forwards or bottom pair defensemen. From your perspective, how important is it to have veterans on a team, even if they're not necessarily a top pair defenseman or a top 6 forward?
The league definitely is trending younger, and as a whole, I agree with that younger, cheaper players, they got more energy, they got more zip. That's good, but I think you need to fill in a few spots on your roster with experienced guys, especially just for the culture aspect of it, the work ethic aspect of it. If you have all young guys on your team it might be okay, or it could lead to disaster and bad habits. And so there's definitely a place for guys with experience and know what a winning culture is about, and I think that's part of my duty here.
Last hockey question I have is you've been on both sides. Flyers have some great rivalries, right? I mean, Pittsburgh, obviously, number one. Rangers are probably number two, and I'd say Washington currently is probably three, and as far as from a fan perspective. You've been on two of those three teams. What has the rivalry been like from your perspective, especially mostly being on the other side of it?
Wild, really. So before coming here, I played 2 playoff series against the Flyers with different teams, and like you said, 3 of the 4 sides of this thing. So, and I played a bunch of playoff series against the Rangers. So, geez, if I go there next, that's going to be something. But it's they're so fun. Yeah. They're so intense that I talk to Drew and Voracek all the time about that playoff series that we had when I was with Pittsburgh and how bonkers that was. Seemed like neither goalie could make a save, and there was a million penalty minutes, and just the scores in that series were just wild. So,
I think you guys averaged 5 goals a game each, or Pittsburgh was just below 5 goals a game. It was nuts.
Yeah, I think we gave up 30 in 6 games. It was crazy. But I think that just goes to show you how emotional it is. Yeah. That guys start doing things that are uncharacteristic because they're so invested in the series or the game, and that's what makes it fun, though. Sometimes playing a Western Conference opponent in January on a Tuesday night ain't that exciting. Playing Pittsburgh is really, really fun at all times.
So since you've been on the other side, one of the things that I think you could probably bring a lot to the table on with this would be people, when they play for Philadelphia, the number one thing is, Philly's got great fans, and then, Philly does have great fans. Like, it's wonderful. But when you come in as the enemy, what is it like to walk into Wells Fargo Center versus walking into another rival of the team that you're playing on?
It feels more hostile. Just some of the vulgar things that I've heard and seen. I know that's just a select few, but I don't mind that kind of stuff. I mean, I've gotten in shouting matches with fans, and that kind of stuff gets you going, and that's what makes it fun. When everybody's that invested in the rivalry, including the players, it just makes everything that much more heated, and I think you get the best out of the best players when it's like that too. So that makes for good hockey.
Awesome.
The beauty of a podcast, of course, is that if you want to share any of those, we are not limited to what you're able to say. I don't know. Are there any that stand out?
Yeah, I won't say anything that people have said to me, but I was with Pitt at the time, and all of a sudden this guy is banging right next to the bench, first row, is banging on the glass just constantly, hey. So I finally turn and look at him, and he just flips me the bird. And I look at him, I start laughing, but then I look next to him, and he's got like his 8-year-old kid right next to him. I'm like, I'm pointing at him, what's going on here?
He's getting the kid ready to be that guy in
grooming him.
10 years, right?
Exactly, yeah.
You grew up in a town called Virginia, Minnesota, correct?
That's right.
One of the things that I like to ask guys about is because a lot of these small hometowns that hockey players come from, most of them obviously Canadian guys, right, come all from up there. We would never know anything about them. They're so small and so remote. I was looking at some pictures of Virginia, Minnesota. It looks like it's actually kind of really pretty up there. Yes?
I love it.
Okay.
Yeah, I go back every summer, and that's where I plan to retire someday, so that's home for me. I love it.
What's it like up there?
Right now, butt cold. I think they just got 10 inches of snow during that last storm. And, if you're not an outdoorsy kind of guy, I could see why a lot of people leave, but I personally love it.
It's a cool place in the summertime, too?
Beautiful place in the summer, though. Yeah. Summers are awesome. I mean, land of 10,000 lakes. We got lakes everywhere. I have a lake home there where we spend our summers, and I like to fish and do water sports, all that kind of stuff. My son loves to swim. We have a little beach and stuff, so it's fantastic for what I like.
That's cool.
You've had, in your career, I believe, 3 stints with the national team. I think twice with juniors, and then once a few years ago.
World Cup, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did like an under 18 thing over in Europe. That was like a USA Hockey summer deal. And then World Juniors, World Championships once.
Yep.
and then the World Cup.
Okay.
So 4, kind of.
When there are young guys on this team, like Joel Farabee got the call to go play at the national level. Mm-hmm. Is there something, like, I don't know if you guys talked about that at all when he got that call, but to get to represent your country and then see that, like, some of these young guys are starting to kind of get that look across the league, what's one of the biggest things, one of the biggest differences, I guess, or one of the main things that you would say to a guy who gets that call to play with the national team, just what it means?
Mostly, I think it doesn't even need to be said. Just how huge of an honor it is. And I remember the first time I got to wear a USA Hockey sweater was that under-18 thing, and it was not long after the movie Miracle came out. And so I knew all about the 80 Olympics, and obviously that refreshed everything, but just the sense of pride that comes with it, and an opportunity that I knew I wasn't going to be a high-end NHL player. I hoped that I might get a chance for it someday. It ended up happening with the World Cup, but I tried to cherish every opportunity that he got to put that sweater on and play in an international tournament. They're unbelievably fun.
I'm glad you mentioned the movie Miracle.
Oh, stop.
Because Russ and I have to ask every guy.
Yeah.
Because this is a thing, and we fight about it all the time. If you had to pick, you're on a stranded island, and you have one hockey movie for the rest of your life that you can watch, which one is it?
Slapshot.
See? You know what he picks?
I don't even ask anymore.
He picks Goon.
Because I think Goon is a more quotable movie. I think Goon is, and I'm not going to rehash this again because no one has sided with me. We've had former enforcers on this show, and none of them have even sided with me.
Yeah.
So I just have to.
It's because Slapshot's more realistic, right?
I think so.
Right.
But I'm not going for
Yeah.
most realistic. Like, I'm thinking,
Yeah, but that's why hockey
what
people
movie
like it
makes
better.
me laugh the most?
Yeah, okay, fine.
I'm partial anyways to Slapshot, though, because the Hansons are originally the Carlsons,
Right.
are from Virginia, Minnesota.
Are they really?
Yeah.
See that?
Yeah.
I didn't even.
Come on, man.
I swear I
You're
did not
Mr.
know that.
Okay.
I did not
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah, believe it or not, Jeff, one of the brothers,
Yeah.
I was having a beer with him a couple summers ago at a local establishment and got to talk to him for like over a half hour. It was cool as heck.
Right.
And I can tell you this, he wasn't acting too much in that movie.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's
that's
wild.
awesome.
He had awesome stories. Yeah.
Are you a movie, TV streaming guy? Like, do you binge watch anything?
Not a ton, but there's a couple things where when I'm in. I have to finish it right now, so I'll binge on a couple things. That haven't had one recently, but yeah, from
a
time to
favorite?
time. Homeland.
Oh, that
Okay,
was a good
yeah.
one. Homeland
Yeah,
was good.
I showed up late to that party, but once I was in, I couldn't stop.
Did you like it better after, I guess, it's been a long time since when Brody gets it, and then it kind of moves on with Carrie's role
Story,
going forward.
yeah.
Did you like it better when that aspect of the show changed, or were you like more of a first?
No, I
first
think
few
I liked the
seasons?
beginning better.
Really?
Yeah.
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 I liked the beginning better, but I think I liked it all. I liked the whole thing. But
Same.
but I think
Same.
that-
I liked it after that too.
yeah, but I just think that the beginning was more riveting. Stuff.
What was the most recent thing you can remember binging?
Actually, a World War II documentary.
Okay.
That World War II in color.
Oh,
I think.
Okay,
on Netflix.
yes.
Yeah, on Netflix.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was pretty cool, actually.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I know a fair amount about World War II and stuff, but I always like looking for new things about it to see if I pick up more info and stuff
Well,
like
I'll
that.
give you a recommendation. Go see 1917.
Oh, I heard it's awesome.
It's the
And
most unbelievable
it's on my
thing I've
list
ever
for
seen.
sure. Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's
That's
gonna
World
win-
War One, obviously.
Yeah, it is
but
World
yeah,
War One, but
I like that kind of stuff.
it's
Yeah.
fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. So that's just my recommendation
Okay.
from Matt today. Good. Yeah. What do you think of Jake as a DJ in the locker room?
Pretty good.
You-
Most of his stuff is pretty good.
Yeah, okay.
Not all, most.
I have a feeling though if I ask Travis this and I ask Joel this, that they might be on the other side because it's an age
Correct.
thing, correct?
For sure.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you being one of the veteran guys, you kind of like his music.
Right.
One of the last questions, this might be my last one, but one of the questions that we always like to ask is either at the NHL level or working your way up, a favorite arena that you had to play in.
Oh yeah. That's
Because
a question.
sometimes guys say that working their way up, they're,
Somewhere in
like
junior.
the insanity of what you might see behind the bench in Philadelphia is
Right.
one thing, but what you might see in a small town as you're working way up is even crazier. Do you have a favorite place or one that stands out as most memorable?
So I played high school hockey before I went to college, and are cross town. I mean, it's a different town, but they're abutting towns, and their rink was awesome. It was one of the first indoor rinks in Minnesota. Older snot. But it had tons of character, loud, echoes like crazy, and that was our rival. So that was always a fun barn to play in. In college, I actually liked our home rink the best.
So it was Minnesota Duluth?
Minnesota Duluth,
Yeah.
yeah. They have a new rink now, but the old one I think was built in like the 60s, and it was called the Deck, and it really steep. Held like 5,000 people, maybe 6 if you're standing room only,
Yeah.
and it was just playing the University of Minnesota or North Dakota, and that tiny barn was just wild. So I think NHL, actually, my favorite might be San Jose. I've never had a ton of luck there.
Really?
Yeah, I think my career numbers there must be horrible because we always get smoked, but it is fun to play there.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
They're a good crowd out there.
Yeah.
It's surprising.
Really-
Like you
really
would think
good.
It's a surprisingly good crowd.
Yeah, I would say probably top 3 American cities for like crowds,
Yeah.
and that's probably consensus amongst most players. So they're pretty good.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Well, Matt, we really appreciate you taking the time. Thanks for hopping on Snow the Goalie, and best of luck to you, and we'll talk to you down the road.
All right, thanks guys. That was fun.